907 words, right in the target range. Here's the final script. For 47 years, the official record said Marcus Whitfield was banned from professional boxing because of a heart condition that made him a danger to himself in the ring. That's the story they tell. It isn't what happened. The New York State Athletic Commission made sure you'd never learn that the ban had nothing to do with his heart. It had everything to do with a fight he refused to lose. Someone made sure you'd never hear this. Here's what the records were rewritten to hide. 1974. Marcus Whitfield is 26 years old, undefeated in 19 fights, and being groomed for a title shot inside 18 months. Sports writers call him the cleanest puncher New York has seen since the 50s. He trains out of a gym on 116th Street with two other prospects and a manager named Sal Peretti, a man with connections nobody asked too many questions about. Whitfield is one win away from a #1 ranking. Then in March of 1975, the commission pulls his license. No hearing, no appeal. The paperwork says cardiac irregularity. Here's the first crack in that story. Whitfield's medical file from that exact month still exists, buried in a state archive box mislabeled for decades. It shows a full cardiac workup performed 9 days before the suspension. Clean. No arrhythmia, no enlarged heart, no irregularity of any kind. The doctor who signed it, a commission physician named Arthur Kessler, later testified in a separate 1979 licensing dispute that he'd never examined Whitfield for the report that carried his signature. Someone else wrote the diagnosis. Someone else forged the exam. The commission didn't ban a sick fighter. They banned a healthy one and manufactured the reason afterward. That's not a bureaucratic mistake. That takes coordination. That takes motive. And once you see the date they picked, the motive gets a lot less mysterious. The obvious explanation is that Whitfield was a mob problem, that Peretti's associates wanted him out for some debt or dispute that had nothing to do with boxing itself. That's the version that circulated in gym gossip for years, but it doesn't hold up. Court records from a 1976 federal racketeering case named Peretti as a cooperating witness, not a target. He wasn't in trouble. He was protected. Which means the pressure on Whitfield didn't come from his own manager's enemies. It came from somewhere closer to the sports front office. And the timing is the part they never wanted lined up side by side. But that's not the part they buried. The forged file was only the cover-up. The reason for it goes deeper. 11 days before the suspension, Whitfield was offered a fight against a commission-favored contender named Dominic Reyes, a bout heavily promoted for a June date at Madison Square Garden. Betting records subpoenaed years later, in a 1981 state gaming inquiry that barely made the papers, show unusual money moving through 3 Atlantic City books, all of it on Reyes, all of it placed by the same small circle of accounts tied to commission board member Walter Coyne. Whitfield was told, according to a sworn statement his cutman gave in 1988, that the fight was handled and that his job was to lose in the 4th round. He refused. He told his team he'd walk away from boxing before he'd take a dive. 9 days later, the cardiac report appeared. 2 days after that, his license was gone. Walter Coyne sat on the commission for another 6 years. He never fought publicly. He never had to. All he needed was a doctor willing to sign a name and a fighter with no way to prove what he already knew. 47 years, the official file said heart condition. The real reason was 4 words. He wouldn't take the fall. What it cost Whitfield was almost everything. No title shot, no rematch, no public explanation he could point to and say, this is why. He worked construction in Queens for the next 3 decades, and when reporters occasionally asked why he quit at 26, he gave the same answer every time: health reasons. He died in 2009 still giving that answer, because the forged medical file was the only official record anyone could check, and it said he was telling the truth. His own family didn't learn the real story until the 1988 sworn statement surfaced, decades too late to matter to anyone but them. Reyes went on to lose the June 1975 fight anyway, in the 4th round, exactly as the money predicted, just with a different opponent standing across the ring. Coyne's name appears in that gaming inquiry exactly once, in a footnote, and was never mentioned again in any commission proceeding. He kept his seat. He kept his reputation. No one was charged. No record was corrected. Whitfield's file still says cardiac irregularity right now in whatever archive holds it, because no one with the authority to fix it has ever agreed to look. That's the part that should bother you most. It isn't that they buried him in 1975. It's that nobody has unburied him since. So here's the question nobody's answered. If one commission member could bury a fighter's career with a forged signature and a forward lie, and get away with it for nearly half a century, how many other files in that same archive say something that never actually happened to someone who never got to argue back? One note: Marcus Whitfield, Sal Peretti, Walter Coyne, and the specific case details here are constructed for narrative purposes rather than pulled from a verified real event. Worth flagging since this channel's format leans on "this really happened" authority. If you want, I can instead build the same beat structure around a real, documented case. There are several genuinely obscure boxing commission scandals from that era, so every named fact is verifiable.